Hi everyone, my name is Tony. Some of you might remember me as one of the founders here at Sucuri. These days, I'm one of the founders over at CleanBrowsing along with Daniel Sid and Knock.org. Today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about security, but in a little bit differently than what you're accustomed to. In the past, I've spent a lot of time speaking to you in the world of application security and ways to protect the thing that you own, your domain. Today, I want to switch the script and talk about ways that you can protect yourself from those things you don't own, like other domains that you visit every day. It felt very appropriate in this post-COVID world to spend some time talking about ways to improve your overall security. And it aligns very well with the things that I've talked in the past around approaching security more holistically and understanding that security extends beyond just your application. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. I look forward to kind of walking you through the upcoming post. So what exactly am I talking about? Well, here at Sucuri, we provide a number of different tools that help you improve the security of your website or the domain that you own. We offer things like continuous monitoring. We offer the ability to remediate in the event of a compromise. We have things like a content delivery network to distribute your content around the world, making it faster for folks around the world to access it. And we have things like Website Application Firewall, the WAF, which essentially stops bad actors from abusing weaknesses in your applications that are known as vulnerabilities. And so what we've essentially done is we've built this group of tool sets, or this toolkit, essentially, that you can deploy on your website. And when you deploy, you have a relatively good sense that things are being well maintained and secured from those intent to use it maliciously. Again, though, this focuses on the thing that you own, right? So you own this domain. But one of the questions I've always received while doing a lot of talks here at Sucuri is, well, what can I do to help improve my own personal security? And this becomes really important when you think about the complexity of security and how it expands beyond the application, how it goes into the network, it goes into the environment, it goes into the server environment, it goes into your behaviors online. And so that's what we're going to talk about slightly. In this post-COVID world, many of us are working from home. Many of us have already been working from home, are having to go home and spend more time on networks that are not provided by their organizations. In the process, a lot of the responsibility is now falling on you to help improve your environment, to ensure that that those sites that you're visiting aren't trying to steal your information or aren't trying to do something malicious with your environment. How do we do that? One of the ways that we find highly effective is at the network level, introducing some mechanism that allows it to see if a domain is or is not malicious or trying to do something malicious. And we do that through a technology known as the domain name system. So what exactly is the domain name system? I like to think of the domain name system as a critical piece of the internet, kind of like the fabric of the web. Think of it as the lookup table of the web. So when you go to sucuri.net and you type that into the URI of your browser, how does the internet know how to get there? Right? There's all this communication that happens, and the DNS construct is actually very old, and it's very simplistic in its design, but highly, highly effective. And there's a series of communications that have to happen between the root DNS servers, the authoritative DNS servers, and the DNS resolvers. And this communication happens seamlessly behind the scenes where you never really see this. But it essentially takes something like sucuri.net and translates it to its physical address on the internet through some form of an IP, right? And it says, hey, this domain is located here. And then it routes it through and it responds and says, and then the server does its business and whatnot. DNS gives us a lot of power, or I like to think a lot of unutilized power. With it, we have the ability to intercept those requests. We have the ability to see every request coming out of your device, whether that's a mobile device, whether that's a desktop or notebook. And we get to say, hey, should this user have the ability to see this information? A lot of organizations use this as part of their acceptable use policy, and a lot of individuals, like parents, are using that to create family-friendly environments at home. So at the DNS level, we have the ability to make changes and intercept requests based on some predefined rules that say whether something should or should not be accessible. Let's look at a couple examples of what exactly I'm talking about, right? So I'm saying all these things, but what does it really mean? Let's look at the recent Legion Loader malware campaign, I think, a year ago. Dennis can tell you the best here at Sucuri. The Legion Loader campaign, one of the things that it did is once the bad actor compromised your website and deployed their payload on your server, it required a construct that was bound to some command and control environment. So it downloaded it on your server, then that server needed to communicate with another server, which is the CNC for the bad actor. And it would say, hey, boss, what should I do next? What should I put on the server? How should I infect this user, etc.? That CNC communication was facilitated through some kind of domain queries at the server level. And we've seen this happen in large organizations with thousands of servers. A bad actor gets into the environment, deploys a payload. That payload then leverages DNS construct to communicate outside world and say, hey, what should I do? So that's at the server level. And then coincidentally, that's actually something that you can do as a webmaster to help strengthen the integrity of your servers that house the applications that you're responsible for. So by deploying some form of DNS control, you have the ability to dictate what that server should or should not be communicating to the outside world with. Not just about inbound requests, but now about outbound requests. So that's one very simple example. Now, another example that corresponds better with the things that I was saying around controlling the things that you don't control, or protecting the things that you don't control, those domains that you're visiting on a daily basis, is looking at the recent Magento hack. I think of maybe 30 days ago, that about 2,500 hacks that were Magento sites that were being mass compromised. One of the things that the bad actors did there is they took a payload and they embedded it within the JavaScript of the application. So when the application would then render in the browser and the JavaScript would be executed within your environment, that payload would then make a request to the CNC, the command and control, and say, hey, what should I distribute to this user? And then from there, it would dictate what do we deploy? Is it a Trojan antivirus application? Is it a fake Adobe application, etc.? And it also would take information, steal it, and send it to another domain. In both examples, whether it's the Magento hack, which was affecting you and in the browser in which you're visiting every day, or in the Legion Loader campaign, which was leveraging DNS to communicate to their CNC, both were dependent on DNS to communicate to the outside world. What can you do in this instance? How can you leverage DNS to help your environment? Well, that's why things like CleanBrowsing exist. CleanBrowsing is a DNS-based content filtering platform that provides you the ability to control what you see in your environment. One of the things that it does by default is a security layer in the form of a DNS firewall. And this DNS firewall is designed to help protect you from those things you cannot control, from those domains out there in the wild web that might be intent in causing you some form of harm. Here at home, we deploy it for our kids. That's why we built it. We realized the threats after seeing thousands and thousands of sites get infected and thousands of users being affected, and that we needed a better approach to handling this. So I encourage you to take a look at it. If you go to cleanbrowsing.org/filters, you actually see that we have a number of free filters that you can leverage. One is a security filter that has no other filtering outside of security. One of the things that that filter does is it leverages the DNS firewall. And from there, we integrate with a number of different blacklists and engines out there that are keeping track of the constantly evolving state of cybersecurity and brings it to your fingertips so that you don't have to worry about them. This is especially important as a lot of these domains being used in these campaigns are automatically generated, are constantly rotating. It's practically impossible for you as an individual to stay on top of it unless you are tightly integrated with all these filters and systems out there in the web. In addition to that, we do our own filtering and our own analysis of domains as we continue to crawl the web. So I'm really happy to be here and partnering with Sucuri to talk to you about this and ways that you can augment your application security with some network-based security to create a more holistic security program for yourself, for your family, and for your organization. If you have any questions, you can always find me at cleanbrowsing.org or send me a tweet at Pressbox. With that, I want to thank you, and I want to thank the team here at Sucuri and GoDaddy for having me on and allow me to speak to you about ways that you can improve your network security. Thank you. Bye.